tip of the tongue phenomenon. You know the word. You absolutely know it. It's sitting right there at the edge of your brain, and it will not come out. This is the tip of the tongue state, and it's one of the strangest things your memory does. You're not forgetting. You have partial access. You often know the first letter, how many syllables it has, what it rhymes with. You just can't grab the word itself. Here's the messed up part. The harder you chase it, the more locked it gets. Your brain keeps pulling up the wrong word, the close but not it word, and that wrong answer actually blocks the right one. You're jamming your own signal. And then you give up, go do something else, and it pops into your head an hour later, completely unprompted. That's not luck. That's your brain quietly solving it in the background once you stop strangling it. The fix is genuinely to stop trying. Let it go, and the retrieval finishes on its own. Your memory works better when you're not standing over it demanding answers. Walking into a room and forgetting why. You get up with a clear mission. You walk into the kitchen, you stand there like a rebooting computer with absolutely no idea why you came. Everyone's done this. Almost nobody knows it has a name and an actual mechanism behind it. Your intention didn't vanish because you're losing it. It got wiped by the act of walking through a doorway. Here's what's happening. Your brain chunks experience into episodes, and it uses physical boundaries to decide where one episode ends and the next begins. A doorway is a boundary. Crossing it tells your brain, new scene, and it quietly clears the mental workspace to make room. Your reason for coming was in that workspace. So it's not age, it's not early anything. It's a filing system doing exactly what it's built to do, just at the worst possible moment. The trick is stupid, but it works. Go back to where you had the thought. The original context reloads the memory. You'll remember instantly, standing in the exact spot you started. Deja vu. You walk into a place you've never been, and every cell in your body swears you've been here before. Same conversation, same lighting, same everything. Deja vu is your brain glitching in real time, and the leading explanation is weirdly simple. Memory has two jobs: store the thing and flag it as past. Usually those fire together. Sometimes the "this is a memory" flag fires on an experience that's happening right now. So you get the feeling of remembering without an actual memory attached. Your brain is stamping the present moment as the past while you're still living it. Here's why it's so hard to shake. The feeling comes from a deep automatic part of your brain, but you know rationally you've never been there. So you get this eerie split. Part of you certain, part of you knowing that's impossible. Both true at once. It's most common when you're tired or stressed, which is exactly when your brain's timing gets sloppy. It's not a sign of anything. It's just your memory system briefly misfiling the moment you're standing in. Jamais Vu. Deja vu's creepy twin does the opposite. Something completely familiar suddenly feels alien, like you're seeing it for the first time. Stare at a common word long enough, and it stops looking like a word. It becomes a random pile of shapes. You start doubting you're even spelling it right. That's jamais vu, and it's your brain temporarily losing recognition of something it knows perfectly well. Here's the mechanism. Familiarity isn't a permanent label. It's an active signal your brain generates every time you encounter something. Overload that signal by repeating or over-focusing, and it fatigues. The recognition drops out, and the familiar thing goes strange. It happens with faces you know, words you've read 1,000 times, even your own reflection if you stare too long. Suddenly, none of it computes. It sounds unsettling and it feels unsettling, but it's completely normal. Your recognition system is just running low on the signal that makes the world feel known. Look away, come back, and everything snaps back to familiar like nothing happened. False memories. You remember it perfectly. The problem is it never happened, or it didn't happen the way you're certain it did. Here's the thing that unsettles people. False memories don't feel fake. They feel exactly as vivid, detailed, and emotionally real as true ones. There's no internal alarm, no fuzzy quality that warns you. Confidence is not evidence. You can be completely sure and completely wrong. Your memory isn't a recording. It's a reconstruction rebuilt from fragments every time. And in the rebuild, your brain fills gaps with what probably happened, what fits the story, what someone else told you later. You can't tell the patched parts from the real ones. This isn't rare, and it isn't a defect. Researchers have implanted entirely fake childhood memories in people just by suggesting them, and those people defended events that never occurred. So, that argument where you know exactly what was said, you might be wrong. Everyone might be. Memory feels like truth, but it's really just your brain's best guess wearing a very convincing costume. Memory reconsolidation. Here's the one that should genuinely bother you. Every time you recall a memory, you change it. We treat memories like files in storage. Pull one up, look at it, put it back untouched. That's not how it works. When you retrieve a memory, it becomes briefly unstable and editable, and then your brain saves it again. Whatever you thought or felt during a recall gets written back in. So the memories you revisit most are the ones most distorted. Your most replayed moments, the ones you've told 100 times, have been quietly edited every single time. You've been overwriting the original with each viewing. Sit with that. The memory you trust most because you think about it constantly is the one furthest from what actually happened. The ones you never revisit are more pristine. There's an upside hiding in this. Painful memories can be softened the same way, recalled in a calmer state and saved back with less charge. Your memory isn't a vault, it's a document that changes a little every time you open it. Source confusion. You know the fact. You have no idea where you learned it. And that gap is more dangerous than it sounds. Source confusion is when your brain keeps the information but loses the tag saying where it came from. You remember the what and drop the where. Sounds harmless. It isn't. Here's the trap. When you forget the source, you can't judge whether it was reliable. That rumor a stranger said offhand and the thing your doctor told you can end up filed at the exact same level of certainty. The content survives. The credibility rating vanishes. This is exactly how misinformation wins. Hear something false enough times and your brain keeps the claim while forgetting it came from a garbage source. Eventually, it just feels like something you've always known to be true. It's also why people repeat things they can't actually back up. They're certain, they just can't say why. The knowing feels solid. The foundation quietly rotted away, and you almost never notice it's gone. Childhood amnesia. Try to remember being 2. You can't. Almost nobody can recall anything before age 3 or 4, and that blank is stranger than it looks. You were awake for those years, learning constantly, forming attachments, building language, absorbing more than at any other point in your life, and you remember essentially none of it. An entire era of your existence gone. Here's why. The brain regions that build long-term autobiographical memories aren't finished developing yet. You were recording, but on hardware that couldn't archive properly. The experiences shaped you. They just didn't get saved as retrievable scenes. And here's the unsettling part. The handful of early memories you think you have are often not real memories at all. They're reconstructions built later from photos, from family stories, from imagination. You're not remembering the moment. You're remembering the retelling. So your foundational years, the ones that arguably shaped you most, are a black box even to you. You are the direct product of a period you have no access to. Everyone is walking around built by a childhood they can't actually see. Mandela Effect. Huge groups of people remember the exact same thing in perfect detail that never happened. Same false memory, shared by strangers who never met. It's named after Nelson Mandela because masses of people vividly remembered him dying in prison in the 1980s. He didn't. He walked out and became president. Yet thousands share the same clear, confident, completely wrong memory. Here's what's actually going on, and it's not parallel universes. Your brain builds memories using logic, expectation, and the memories of people around you. When a detail feels like it should be true, everyone's brain fills the gap the same wrong way. Shared assumptions produce shared errors. That's why famous logos, movie lines, and brand names get misremembered identically by millions. The correction spreads slower than the mistake, so the wrong version becomes the default. It's a mass demonstration of how unreliable memory is. Not one person glitching, thousands, all landing on the same false detail, all equally certain. Confidence scales. It just doesn't make anyone right. Doorway effect. Remember walking into a room and forgetting why? This is the science underneath it, and it goes deeper than one confused trip to the kitchen. The doorway effect is your brain treating physical thresholds as mental reset points. Cross into a new space, and your mind files the last space as a completed chapter, purging the working details to prep for whatever's next. The doorway literally triggers a memory flush. Here's the part that stings. It happens even in virtual environments. Move between rooms in a video game and your recall of the previous room drops the same way. It's not about the walk or the effort. Your brain just uses new location as a signal to clear the desk. So it's not that you're forgetful. Your memory is aggressively efficient. It dumps what it assumes you no longer need the instant the scene changes, and sometimes it's wrong about what you needed. Knowing this doesn't stop it, but it explains why your best ideas evaporate the second you get up to act on them. Brain fog. Some days your brain just refuses to load. Words come slow. Focus won't hold. You reread the same line 4 times and retain nothing. Brain fog isn't a real medical diagnosis, but the experience is completely real, and dismissing it as laziness misses what's actually happening. Your cognitive machinery is running, it's just running degraded. The processor is throttled and everything lags. Here's the thing people miss. Brain fog is almost always a downstream symptom, not the problem itself. Poor sleep, chronic stress, dehydration, bad nutrition, illness, inflammation. Your brain is an organ, and when the body running it is struggling, thinking is the first thing to get quietly rationed. So, treating the fog directly with more caffeine and more pressure usually backfires. You're flogging a system that's already telling you it's under-resourced. The fog is a signal, not a flaw. It's your brain reporting that something upstream needs fixing. Ignore the message and pile on more demand, and it doesn't clear. It just gets louder until you finally listen. Sleep deprivation, memory gaps. Pull one bad night and the next day has holes in it. Conversations you half remember. Things you supposedly did with no memory of doing them. Here's what most people don't realize. Sleep isn't when memory shuts off. Sleep is when memory gets saved. During deep sleep, your brain replays the day and transfers experiences into long-term storage. Skip the sleep, skip the save. So it's not that tired. You can't focus, though that's true too. It's that the events never got properly filed in the first place. You can't retrieve a memory that was never written to disk. And it compounds fast. The more sleep you lose, the more of your life stops recording. You can be fully awake, living through your day, laying down almost nothing, present in the moment and absent from the record. That's the quiet horror of chronic sleep loss. Not just feeling bad, losing whole stretches of your own life to a save function that never ran. You were there. Your memory just wasn't. Stress. Blocking recall. You study for weeks, you know the material cold, you sit down for the test, and your mind goes completely, catastrophically blank. This is stress hijacking retrieval, and the cruelty of it is exact. The information didn't leave. It's right there, fully intact. Stress just slammed the door to the room it's stored in, right when you needed to walk through it. Here's the mechanism. Acute stress floods your brain with cortisol, and while a little sharpens you, too much shuts down the exact regions responsible for pulling up stored memories. Your brain decides this is an emergency and that careful recall is a luxury it can't afford right now. That's the vicious loop. You blank, you panic about blanking, the panic spikes the stress higher, and the door slams harder. You're fighting yourself in real time. The way out is counterintuitive. Slow your breathing, drop the cortisol, and access returns almost immediately. The memory was never gone. Stress was just standing guard at the door, and calm is the only thing it steps aside for. Cryptomnesia. You have a brilliant, original idea. It's genuinely great. It's also not yours, and you have no idea. Cryptomnesia is when a memory resurfaces stripped of its origin, and your brain hands it to you as a fresh invention. You heard it, read it, or saw it somewhere, forgot the source completely, and later the idea floats back up feeling brand new. You're not stealing, you're being fooled by your own memory. Here's why it's so dangerous. It feels exactly like genuine creativity. The same spark, the same excitement, the same certainty it came from you. There's no internal warning that says, actually, you got this from a podcast in 2021. This is how good people plagiarize by accident. Musicians have been sued for melodies they were sure they wrote. Writers have reproduced lines they forgot they'd read. Total conviction, real consequences. So the unsettling takeaway is that your originality is partly unverifiable. Some of what feels most uniquely yours is just well-hidden borrowing your brain forgot to label. You can't fully trust the feeling of, I thought of this. Flashbulb memories. Ask anyone where they were during a huge event. They'll tell you in vivid cinematic detail, completely certain every part is accurate. Most of it isn't. Flashbulb memories are the intensely clear snapshots you form during shocking emotional moments. They feel more real than any other memory you have, sharper, more permanent, burned in. And that overwhelming confidence is exactly the problem. Here's what the research actually found. When people wrote down their memory of a major event the day it happened, then described it again years later, the accounts didn't match. Details had shifted, moved, invented themselves. The memories had changed dramatically. But here's the killer part. Their certainty never dropped. As the memories got less accurate, people got more sure of them. The vividness stayed rock solid while the facts quietly drifted. So the memories you'd bet your life on, the ones seared in by emotion, are among the least reliable you own. Feeling certain and being right are two completely separate things. Your most unforgettable memories are just your most convincing fiction.